Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the final installment of the State for the Week. We're wrapping off with the limited voter registration exercise. Don't forget that the exercise commenced on Monday, and so far it has been stained with quite a number of imperfections. But how will these things impact the 2024 general elections? We'll be back with the details. Do stay.
Sorry, not sure.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Get ready for a transformational morning experience.
Sorena Shrine is here to build our spirituality, mental and physical well-being.
Through positive, inspiring actions and stories.
We bring you exciting activities and conversations that develop us as a people and as a nation.
We take a look at the trending issues in Ghana and the rest of the world.
And we also review the impacting stories from our local newspapers.
Every morning, we bring you stories of hope, change, and renewal.
We empower you through the Word of God and provoke you to live the purposeful life destined for you.
Join us, Anita Kwaku
and the Reverend 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘𝗃, Monday to Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we take you on an inspiring journey, live and exclusively on WTV.
You may also join us on Facebook at WTV Ghana and on YouTube at 𝗟𝗚𝗏𝗃𝗏 Ghana.
Sorry, not Shrine.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Sorena Shrine is brought to you by
Danwell Insurance, Multi-Credit Savings and Loans,
and the Methodist University Ghana.
Praise God, praise God. Christ in tea, you respond, yeah, addition. I'm excited to announce to you, friends in the Lord, are you seeking for a platform where you can pray? Open baby up a soul bompire. Now ninyami edi inkita home. Bibi so. And I'm maybe not the same kum. And you're coming home. Let's go into the prayer room on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. to meet seasoned ministers of God that God has raised to impact your life. Remember, John Wesley said, I have too much to do, therefore I spend several hours in prayer in able to do it. That is why we are calling upon you. Meet myself, Reverend 𝗟𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃, and the Evangelism Mission Renewal Directorate as we lead you into the prayer room where we encounter Christ. And I believe your life will never be the same. Call your friends or loved ones every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. where we will encounter Christ. God bless you. See you on our screens on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. God bless you.
We pray that each and every one of us
Voting is definitely a constitutional mandate, and that is why, as of now, the Electoral Commission of Ghana has opened the limited voters registration. It's an exercise that is supposed to allow new entrants, specifically those who just turned 18, to be enrolled on the voters register. But the register, the process has been marred with a number of inconveniences, and this afternoon we're going to delve into the substantive matter. But before we do that, it's now time to serve you with W Briefs. This is where we give you the fine details on any issue that is worth the examination. So we're going to start off W briefs very soon, and it of course is focusing on the limited voters registration exercise. So these are the facts of the matter. The Electoral Commission has begun a limited voter registration exercise across the country, and therefore we may as well say that it's a nationwide exercise. Now the exercise spans Tuesday, May 7 to Monday, May 27, 2024 in all 268 districts of the Electoral Commission. What this technically means is that the Commission has deployed individuals to man, the various registration points across all the 268 registration centers. Now, the 21-day exercise is being conducted in 785 electoral areas and 25 public universities in the country. So indeed, like we established, it is really a nationwide activity. The EC is projecting to register a total of about 623,000 new persons for the exercise to augment the 910,000 new registrants who were registered earlier in 2023. So a bit of clarity here. This particular exercise is expected to capture 623,000, but don't forget that somewhere around last year, some 910,000 new registrants were captured already. So all of this form part of efforts to include everybody in the 2024 general election, which of course will soon be upon us. Now, 4 days into the exercise, there are numerous issues coming up. Indeed, a lot of stakeholders are expressing diverse concerns. The majority in Parliament a while ago, as of yesterday, the majority leader himself raised a number of concerns. The opposition National Democratic Congress has also been speaking. Indeed, all the parties to the call are all expressing concerns. Now, these are some of the challenges that have arisen so far. Poor network connectivity is one of the biggest issues that has been so far highlighted. There are also concerns about machines that are more functioning, faulty machines, and then also this particular one, there are widespread allegations that some non-Ghanaians are being brought on board. Where they come from, we cannot really tell. And then, of course, minors getting onto the voters register. Don't forget that if you are not 18 and above, you cannot register. But there are concerns that some minors are being coerced and some are being schemed into the whole process. Now, these are the affected areas in this respect. The Upper East region has been named. The Northern region has featured. The Ashanti region is on the list. The Volta region, which happens to be the bank of the National Democratic Congress. Don't forget that the Ashanti region is also the bankroller for the New Patriotic Party. Those two regions have equally been implicated, as well as the Eastern region. All of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regions, we can say, as of now, based on the facts, are the 5 most affected areas in that particular respect. Now, most of the technical issues were recorded, particularly during the first day of the exercise and the second day of the registration. Don't forget that today is day 4, and I'm sure that by next week we'll be recording more developments. Now, in the wake of these challenges, the Electoral Commission has directed its district officers to switch to the offline mode of registration starting Thursday, May 9, 2024. That was yesterday. The Commission said that, well, given the fact that there are a number of challenges that as it were undermining the exercise, then of course the personnel at the various stations can now resort to the offline registration alternative. Now, it is in respect of this that the majority leader himself was making the case that really we have to, do something about this unfortunate development. Now, the EC has also assured the public that the deadline, May 27, will be extended due to the challenges recorded. So, of course, it started on Monday, and all things being equal, it's supposed to span into May 27. But given the circumstances as we have now, there is the possibility, the EC saying that the entire exercise may be extended. Now, the big question is, why do these issues always pop up during limited voters registration. What is the Electoral Commission not doing right? Or maybe the fault can even be taken away from the Electoral Commission and placed at the feet of other parties in that respect. Is it really the case of rigging or corruption by the EC, as some political parties are currently alleging? Now we're taking a breather. When we come back, we're going to introduce our guest. Of course, that's the wrap on W Briefs. Right after here, we'll introduce our guest and we'll delve into the substance of the matter. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere. It's now time for us to get into the substance of the conversation, and today we're going to focus particularly on the ongoing limited voters registration. Now, earlier we were giving you the W briefs where we were essentially communicating to you the relevant facts with respect to this nationwide exercise, which commenced on Monday and expected to end on the 27th of May. It's been a smooth process generally, but of course there have been some isolated cases of as it were imperfections that have rather marred what ordinarily may have been a perfect process, and concerns have therefore arisen. Some are asking the relevant question that indeed, why do these events always happen when we get to this part of our democratic process? And indeed, in fact, actually some political parties already are alleging that the Electoral Commission is complicit. And so this afternoon we want to find out if the reported incidents of as it were malfunctioning devices and all the other challenges that we know on paper can mar the credibility of the upcoming 2024 general election. To do us of the conversation, 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗓 is an anti-corruption campaigner and also a member of the AU Advisory Board against Corruption. 𝗟𝗓𝗪 is joining us via Zoom. 𝗟𝗓𝗪, good afternoon. We are happy and we are glad that we are able to connect with you. Hello, 𝗟𝗓𝗪.
Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yes, I was saying that welcome to the conversation. We are glad that we are able to connect with you.
And thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. So that was 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗓. He is an anti-corruption campaigner and a member of the AU Advisory Board against corruption. And joining us in studio is another 𝗟𝗓𝗪. By the way, maybe it's an interesting coincidence. 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗓 is a lecturer, researcher, and a political analyst. 𝗟𝗓𝗪, you're welcome to the platform.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Great. And also, we have Albert Kofi Ahin. Albert is representing the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. And Albert holds the portfolio of the National coordinator of CODIO in that respect. Albert is joining us via phone. Albert, we understand you're unable to connect on Zoom because the ECG has not dealt well with you this afternoon. How true is that?
What was the question?
Yes, Albert, I'm saying ordinarily you were supposed to connect with us on Zoom, but we understand that the ECG has not dealt well with you as of now.
Yes,
reason for which...
and we are still living in we still don't have light, so we need to, there's a problem with light.
We
had a blast at our transformer yesterday, and the whole of this place, there's no light.
Which area, to be specific? We want to find out if it's a localized problem or... Where exactly?
This is localized around the East ACP roofing tile factory area. That's where I am. Factory ACP, yeah.
Right, that's rather unfortunate, but all the same, we are happy that you are able to connect with us. So these are the three gentlemen who are going to help us to dilate these issues and to put the matters in a proper perspective. I'm going to start off with you, 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘, on Zoom. And this question is one that I would take opinions across the table. The Electoral Commission, from 2020 up to now, there have been widespread concerns about the credibility of that outfit. And a lot of people have had, reason to, as it were, discredit them and question their integrity in that respect. Do you think that those suspicions have been justified over the period up to now?
Well, yes and no. I think that we should always anticipate that because of partisan political interests, different parties at different times will be pushing the narrative to suggest that they have been unfairly treated within the circumstances or context of any elections. And so we need to be cautious not to immediately be gullible and embrace any, extreme positions on what the EC does. However, there have been factual situations where clearly for all of us as Ghanaians, we would have wished that the Electoral Commission did much better in terms of perhaps resolving issues that came up during the elections, referring them to the courts and using the court rulings to then improve and enhance what they do as a commission. So there are circumstances that could have been avoided or that could have been dealt with much better, that leave a sour taste in our minds, on our mouths. On the other hand, we also need to be cautious when dealing with such institutions because they act as the final bastions of our democracy. And if we undermine them too much, then we have nothing left, nothing left to keep us together and looking forward, hoping for a better future.
All right, thank you, Adam. Let me cross to the other Adam. Same question. Do you think that the suspicions and the mud thrown at them have been justified over the period?
Well, I think it is only natural for there to be either critiques, in the sense that we all want the improvement of our electoral systems. And since 1992, we've had opinions, reforms and all that has sought to improve upon the quality of elections. Because you see, voter credibility is very essential in the sense that it is what we can all vouch for, to say that indeed, based on actions A, B, C, D, then we trust that the voter outcome would be the best. So, well, they have done the best that they think they can do in their opinion, but we think there's more room for improvement.
All right, so Adam maintains there's more room for improvement. Mr. Senanu also insists that, well, we should not bastardize them too much. You have been monitoring elections for a while now. The Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, Albert Kofi Ahen, do you share in the sentiments that Ghana's Electoral Commission has lended itself to the criticism and therefore all the mudslinging is justified?
Well, thank you very much. What I will say is that, and I'm sure you know that I'm talking from the background of the fact that I've been with the EC for quite some time.
Yeah, I've always been saying that it is always not good to be bastardizing the EC when it comes to elections. Because in the long run, they are the very people who are going to administer elections to this country. So we need to be very careful the way we sometimes accuse them. You see, there's one thing that I want us to all get here, that I have observed, and this is something I'm sure other people might also know.
Right.
Anytime a government is in power in this country, you find that the attraction of, it's like the affiliation goes to the East. When a government is in power, the EC does no wrong. When a government is out of power, the EC is an enemy. That is something that I have noticed. And it does not augur well for the EC itself. You see, that aside, what I will say is that most of the time the EC goes along with the political party. There are situations where whenever there's an election, whenever there's a registration, everybody joins. There are meetings. When it is registration, they have people there always looking at it.
Right.
At the end of the day, when, for example, registration is closed, the report comes out. The report is given to the party. So you see, all along, they share in the process. The parties take part in the process. And there's one thing that is always within my imagination, that anytime there's a problem, there are avenues for correction.
Right.
If you go to a police station and there's somebody there who is not a Ghanaian, there's a form to fill to challenge. When you go to a police station and somebody is a minor, there's a way of going about it. So I would have loved that Ghanaians would take advantage of these situations, these openings, so that issues are resolved at the various stations wherever these things are happening, other than to demonize the body that is charged with the conduct of these elections or registration.
So effectively,
there are avenues always there for redress, but sometimes we ignore these avenues and rather resort to mudslinging and so forth and so on. So we need to be very careful about this.
Right. Just like the two earlier discussants, you also do not think that the Electoral Commission should be subjected to excessive criticism. But because you've been with the Commission, I mean, for a longer period, I want to find out from you, with respect to the limited voters registration exercise, the issues have been perennial. I mean, they happen all the time. We do not seem to have a way to evacuate out of the mess largely. Is that not cause alone for people to question the competence of the Electoral Commission? The fact that this is not the first time we are having an exercise of this nature. So why haven't we been able to nip the repeated challenges in the bud?
Yes, I don't want to hold brief for the EC, but honestly, it is very disturbing. Very disturbing, for example, that always you have these machines breaking down, they are being repaired, they break down again. So these are things that should be solved once and for all. For that one, I don't think I can explain, but it is not good to be having it every time when we are having these exercises. It doesn't augur well for the success of any exercise. So I'm sure the EC is aware of this and will have to work on it so that we always have a smooth running exercise. It is not good for machines to be breaking down every now and then. For the internet that is not working, I wouldn't blame the EC. I don't think the internet penetration in this country is even up to 80%. So it is always going to be there. For example, from the report that we had from one of our observers, the EC itself and some of these chaps have to go to a cocoa farm somewhere close to the registration center where they could get reception. They had to walk into the farm. I mean, you can imagine, what kind of
inconvenience, the challenge, right?
Yeah, it's a very big challenge, and that is beyond the EC. So sometimes we need to bear with them. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Havo, everybody appears to be sympathetic towards the Electoral Commission. Is it the case that they have been perfect, or maybe we are all sounding correct on this matter, politically correct?
You know, it is because of the democracy that we enjoy. And the Electoral Commission seems to be the fundamental player, or let me say the referee, in ensuring that the Fourth Republic that we are enjoying goes on smoothly. Therefore, it is only fair, it is only proper that constructive criticism, and I'm using the word constructive here in the sense that obviously they may not get all their actions right. So there is the need to properly situate the context of their actions and inactions in a manner that does not seem as though we are bastardizing or demonizing their activities, but rather seeking to progressively improve upon the services that they provide for us, because ultimately they are doing it on our behalf, because we can't all work with the Electoral Commission. We delegate people who we think are qualified and competent enough to be able to carry out the activity on our behalf. Therefore, I think it boils down to the point that once the criticism is constructive and we see the obvious improvement or learning curve in the Electoral Commission, then people will be satisfied. But if, in spite of all the seeming opinions, comments, because everybody can't be wrong about the things that they talk about. So if we get to see some improvement in the actions of the Electoral Commission, then I think it is all well and good.
So you think really we should give them the benefit of the doubt and not descend upon them too much?
Oh no, I mean, we can descend upon them, but I'm saying that it should be measured so that it doesn't seem to take away or it doesn't seem to erode everything that they have done, because obviously we have talked some successes over the period, but we need to do so in a manner that doesn't make us look as if we can do without them, because clearly in a proper democracy we can't do without them. And
Absolutely.
you see, it brings me to my point about the fact that if you observe the Fourth Republic, it has been the case that every 8 years we have had alternation in power, or what some people know as a basis for democratic consolidation, such that one party handing power over smoothly. The key word here is smoothly, because in other places people don't want to hand over power. But we have seen an Electoral Commission that over the years has overseen peaceful transition or alternation.
But we understand that sometimes traditional authorities and other bodies have had to, come in. I mean,
yes, but ultimately the buck stops with the Electoral Commission, because at the end of the day, it is the candidate that the Electoral Commissioner will declare based on the figures that they have that would be the next leader of the government. So I think our criticism is fair, but it should be constructive enough. So and so to bastardize the activities, but seek to improve upon the quality of their services.
Right, 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗓, let me come to you on this one. Since it appears that clearly, well, sometimes we go overboard with feedback concerning the work of the commission. Do you think if the Electoral Commission were not being appointed by the president, some of these would go away permanently?
Yes and no. Today there seems to be a lot of yes and no responses.
Exactly. That's the point I was coming to. I mean,
yes. If the Electoral Commissioner were more neutrally selected, so you have a more objective process which has to do with competencies of persons, and you make sure that these persons don't have leanings or strong leanings to any party, the fears of political parties hopefully would have been mitigated. However, many of the issues we have seen appear to be systems related, policy and systems related. And so from a very structured approach, what one would expect is that over time, as issues are addressed, this feedback into the system improves the policy framework as well as the steps we follow, such that in subsequent elections, you don't see the same kinds of issues. I think that where we need to pay a lot more attention is where the issue has been repetitive and stakeholders have made suggestions, recommendations that have not been taken on board or that have featured in new policy, but the policy is not being implemented the way it is expected. So yes, a much more neutral candidate certainly will deal with some of the concerns of political parties and perhaps reduce the level of acrimony or the intensity and passion with which some of the comments come. But it may not address the systemic issues, which for me are probably the more important things. That I come from an industrial background, science into industry, and all it requires is every week we take the issues that arose at the weekly management meeting, we come up with the new strategies to address them, you implement them. In fact, working with Germans or Indians, you have only 2 chances to make a mistake. So by the second time, you don't have a third option to make the same mistake. You are fired, you lose your job. So we learned standing on the job, you got to fix it. Nobody is going to come and help you. If we've employed you, figure it out. So in my head, that's what ought to happen. It should not repeat more than a second time. By the second time, we all need to have brought our minds together, address the issue, and move ahead. And if you don't have a leader who has the capacity to get the team to sit down, analyze the issues, and make sure we have a solution that makes sure it does not repeat, then potentially you will still have the criticism from the political parties and stakeholders at large. And that's why I say, no, it may not totally resolve it if the leader is not competent in analyzing and coming up with solutions moving ahead.
Right, I think I appreciate the reason for your yes and no balanced view at the same time. But I'll go to Kofi shortly. But still, let me come back to you. If we were to appoint a commissioner, I mean, outside of the powers of the president, what mechanism can we employ? What would you propose based on research and your understanding of the political process?
Well, we can look at people just like how we have career diplomats. Okay, people who have given themselves to service. We can look at people who have served in the Electoral Commission and have built competences over the period and obviously have gotten to the level where they are experienced also in the activities of elections. So, or they can have a pool such that the commission themselves can select who they feel can be their leader, such that we are, even if it is the president appointing, we are letting you know that this is our choice, so that we are getting the full support and backing of the commission as a whole. Because as we have seen, once a new government comes, like clockwork, the electoral commissioner is changed. So it seems to send a message that I do not support the activities of the previous electoral commissioner, albeit there is a transition in power. So if I am able, so if, for example, in 2016, we saw the change whereby there was Charlotte Osei and then John Mahama was there, and then Nanado came, immediately changing who she is. But the point is, you could give some level of credit to the fact that she oversaw a peaceful transition in power. So if, based on our experience with presidents appointing, yes, there is always the challenge that once you are appointed by the president, then your neutrality is compromised. Or to the extent that he has the power to fire you, then there are hidden forces behind the scene tying you to the president to be at his whims and caprice. So because of that, it must the neutrality of the appointed individual, regardless of their political affiliation or otherwise. So I think there can be a system whereby you can look at experienced persons within the Electoral Commission who have overseen or have been at the helm of affairs in elections over a period, and then in a form of a suggestion or recommendation to the president that, or at least you can give about 3 or 4 names that from the pool of these names, anybody that you appoint, we would be glad to work with them because they have gone through the mill, they have the experience, they have the relevant qualification to be able to gather the support and loyalty of the commission in any given election.
Right. Kofi, I'll end on this note with you before we go for our first break and come back and explore the other layer of the conversation. Again, you've been monitoring elections, I mean, for a very long time now. Would you agree with suggestions that we need to take away the powers of the appointment of the Electoral Commission from the executive?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. I've always said that whoever becomes the electoral commissioner will always have problems because, one, definitely whoever may be appointed will also be a political animal. Okay? It depends on what the person does. You see, the perception has always been that anybody who is appointed by the head of state, and of course it's always by the recommendation and also approval of the members of the Council of State.
Right.
In our case, yeah. So people, and of course the Council of State members are also appointed by the same ruling government. So it's just like people of the same flock confirming their own person. Okay? But I have always said that the person who is selected as the commissioner has to be very careful, has to live above board, has to behave in a way that anybody seeing him will know that, no, this is a neutral person.
Right.
So it depends on what you say, what you do, the way you talk around, you know.
Permit me to cut in briefly. Do you think that the current commissioner has comported herself in a way that engenders public belief and confidence in her neutrality?
No, I don't think I will have any evidence to say anything about her.
No, but it is largely perceptive. I mean, based on the narratives in public discourse.
Yeah, people are always, you know, having this perception that whoever is there will always have the public talking about the fact that he or she comes from.
So, Kofi, what's your opinion? Okay. What is your opinion? Everybody, of course, would have a concern.
My opinion is that because the way we have been perceiving the role played by electoral commissions in this country, I've always said that there will be the need, for example, to let Parliament have a say in the way electoral commissioners are appointed. It's like one of you said, you may have a recommendation from maybe the Council of State or maybe even from members of Parliament regarding about 3 or 2 people. And these people who are nominated can go to Parliament, face Parliament, they will go through certain drills, and then at the end of the day, Parliament who are representing the people can then select whoever they think should be the electoral commission. You see, the way it is now is like it's only the head of state together with the Council of State members who appoint.
Right.
And people perceive that they always come from the ruling party. So it would be nice for Parliament to have a say in this. That the person comes, he goes through the drill, he asks questions here and there, and then at the end of the day, the appointment committee of Parliament will confer and put one of them there. That is the way I'm looking at it now, because no matter whoever is appointed,
there'll still be concerns.
The public perception that he comes from a certain entity. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is the way I'm looking at it.
You wanted to chip in a point before you go
add something that's about the...
I think Parliament should be able to handle it in future if we all agree.
Okay. All right. That point is well made. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to also add the fact that in recommending who becomes the Electoral Commission, be it parliamentary board, whatever process, we should also ensure we are making sure that there is security of tenure of whoever the officer is, so that the person knows that he or she may outlive about 2 or 3 electoral cycles.
Administrations for that matter.
So that we are not still binding the person to an administration. But if, for example, we say, okay, then you are the electoral commissioner for the next 10 years or for so and so period, then we are rest assured that we are seeing the person outlive administrations. But if we limit the time and all that, then it compromises the security of tenure that this person may want to enjoy. And as such, if there are maybe long-term plans they may even have, it limits the time that they can be able to carry that out. So I just wanted to check that in.
I'm sure everybody around the table can agree with this particular opinion. The fact that we ought to elongate the period so that there is indeed security of tenure. But because we are still discussing the 2024 general election, we want to take a breather, and when we come back, we're going to delve into the issues of political party financing and some of the corruption-related issues that have, arisen, in recent times. And so, of course, don't go anywhere. This is WTV. We're on the state. We'll be right back.
In It's that time of the year again when the Methodist Education Unit allows all Methodist schools to experience Methodism. It's the launch of the Methodist Education Week 2024 on the theme Discipleship, Growing into Christian Maturity. Activities lined up for the celebration is as follows. Tuesday, the 7th of May 2024 is the Connectional launch happening at the Wesley Towers Auditorium at exactly 10 a.m. Wednesday, 8th May 2024 is the launch and talk on the theme In All the Regions and photo exhibition. Thursday, 9th of May 2024 is competition on drama, preaching, singing, and reading. Friday, 10th May 2024, time with PTA, SMC, increasing parental support in education and combating truancy. Saturday, 11th May 2024, cleanup exercise. Sunday, 12th May 2024, Thanksgiving and fundraising in all societies in aid of renovation of our schools. Speaker is the presiding bishop, Most Reverend Dr. Paa Kwesi Schandorf. Chairman, the Director Tertiary Education, Bishop-elect Accra Diocese, Very Reverend Dr. 𝗟𝗑𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 Stephen Kweku Owusu. It's the Methodist Education Week Celebration 2024.
Nyansa ashese onyinamishu. Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them. Matthew chapter 19 verse 14. Oh yes, let the little children join hands with WTV every Sunday for a special children's service with the Methodist Church Ghana at 10 a.m. with repeat at 2 p.m. on WTV and Facebook. Nyasa ashese onyinamisho. Wesleyan Television, reaching out to the world.
The stakes are truly very high, and very soon we will all be seeing the 7th of December 2024, where the generality of the populace would be electing, of course, new crops of parliamentarians, as well as a new leader to steer our governance cycle. And so basically it's about elections, and that is the conversation we've been having for the past 35 minutes and over. We want to delve into another layer of this afternoon's discourse, and that has gotten to do largely with corruption and corruption-related activities that have been reported, discussed, and heavily analyzed across the spectrum. The recent case is that of Dr. 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘, the Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, who was caught on camera handing over an envelope believed to be containing money. Now, the explanation he gave, or if I may put it this way, the explanation he gave to that act have not sat down with quite a number of people. Some have, as it were, ridiculed and rubbished the explanation he gave. Others have also said that, well, it is not so fatal. So we're going to discuss basically the influence of moneycracy, as we normally want to put it, in our entire democratic discourse. I'm coming to you, 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗏, because you have been loudly advocating against, corruptful practices of this nature. Do you think we are going to make any inroads, and I mean, in quenching this particular practice, especially going into the 2024 general election, especially not to be demeaning when we have seen a member of parliament even involved in what is rather despicable?
Well, not really. I mean, looking at our current processes, I haven't seen a very proactive effort to pick up such persons, culminating in, prosecution and jailing such that, or sanctioning such that it will serve as a strong enough deterrent. And so I worry about how our processes enable such incidents to be dealt with in a substantive way that sends the right message. So at the moment, I'm not quite sure we still have our act properly put together to resolve these matters. And so that's the issue.
When you say we are not, as it were, well equipped to handle the matter, I'm tempted to now and immediately bring in the Office of the Special Prosecutor, because clearly that is an outfit that is supposed to attend to some of these matters. Are you in any way casting a slur on, maybe, forgive me if I'm sounding wild, but if there is an OSP and you still do not think that we are ready, what becomes the essence of the OSP then?
So what we are discovering over and over again is that it's not sufficient to have an institution available that's supposed to be tackling the issue. The nature of the law that empowers the institution is important. And then the judicial system as to how they interpret that law and whether the evidence you've provided is sufficient for them to make a sanction or not. And I guess that because the OSP is a new creature, set up in 2018, and they didn't even begin to get proper funding till I think 2021, 2022. It's not till last year that this last quarter of 2023 that they even began to engage staff. I think it was September or so before they started getting staff who could then occupy. So till that point, they probably had less than 10 staff. What it means is that for a very large extent, they haven't been able to test their law, go to courts, see how the judiciary responds to various elements, their own skill set as to how they position the evidence they collect, how they argue out their cases. I think they're in a learning phase. And from where I sit, I keep wanting to encourage them, because I believe that the people who have there are young and very intent on delivering on their mandate. But to now, we haven't seen as much of the results, perhaps because it's taking a long while for them to even get the manpower. And beyond that, they are now getting to the courts to see how the courts respond to this. In my view, we needed a specialized anti-corruption court.
Mr. Schandorf, permit me to cut in at this point. Do you, I mean, for some, you seem to be rather, I mean, from where I sit, you seem to be holding brief for the ineffectiveness of the OSP, to the effect that you even intimate that they are still learning. Looking at the impact of corruption and how it is affecting our growth and progress as a country, should the OSP still be in the learning curve?
I don't know where you get the idea of me speaking to their ineffectiveness. I don't think they've been ineffective at all. I think that for a new creation of this country in 2018, and given that they didn't have any support till about substantive support in terms of manpower till less than a year ago, probably about 8 months ago, I think they've done a lot to getting people to sit up. I think the kind of cases they've taken, the kind of actions they've taken has served to give notice to many people in the public space, especially public officers, that you need to watch your back. And until they came on board, really, we had a very quiet anti-corruption space, not much in terms of sanctions, not much in terms of reportage to the citizens on what is going on. Now, every 6 months, they are compelled to. It probably means that the standards we set for them is so high that all eyes are upon them. I don't think they've been ineffective. Right. I think that they are in a learning period, and I seriously think so. I think that we need to consolidate their learnings and improve the laws, make sure we have a fast-track anti-corruption court, and then we'll get results. So I am not of the school that thinks they've been ineffective at all.
Right. Just before I come to your name's sake, fellow Adam, therefore, I mean, given the fact that you do not think they have underperformed like many people feel, if you were to rate them rate the office out 1 out of, out of 10, where would you stop?
I'll give them a 7 out of 10. Because I think that given all the constraints that office has had, and mind you, because I'm in the space and constantly engaging, I understand how much effort it has taken to set them up, understand the constraints they've been working under, understand that they've been trying to deliver on a law that requires so much for them. So from where I sit, I think that in terms of what they have done with the little resources they have, a 7 out of 10.
Adam, would you go above 7 or you would come down? And wherever you settle, you'd have to justify, especially with relation to dealing with, corruption-related issues where elections are concerned.
I think in fairness to the OSP, if I am to give them a grade, it may not be above 4. In the sense that at the end of the day, what has been the end result of all the cases that they seem to bring to light? There's a difference between bringing it to light and ensuring the end of a case. So, in my opinion, I think the office is more cosmetic than it is effective, in the sense that there is a reason why we set up the office, or the president set up the office, because aside from perception of corruption, we need to know the acts that goes on, the conduits and then the mediums it goes through. And at the end of the day, we should be able to see that, okay, this is the end result for person A, B, C who engaged in this or that. But if we keep going around and in the name of 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘𝗏, this, I am being tied, I'm being constrained, then resign. Because just like what the initial OSP did, when he saw that he was being constrained, he resigned. Because he didn't want to be at the forefront of the bad mouthing and the critics that will be coming to the office, because it is believed that you have been equipped with everything that you need to deal with corruption.
Right.
So if you are still enduring, then the buck stops with you. But if he thinks he cannot, then resign, so that then we know that in a space of between when it was established and now, 2 OSPs have, or 2 special prosecutors have resigned. Then it sends a signal that indeed the one who set it up is not really living up to it in practice, but it was only in wording. So I think in terms of efficiency, I won't give them above a 4. I think it's merely cosmetic. Yes, it exists, but then what is the end result? It's like having a hospital and then you are not able to deal with any patient that comes there. I mean, then what is the point of you saying you're a hospital that deals or attends to the sick? So, in my opinion, I think a 4 is more than fair.
A 4 is more than fair. Well, Adam Senanu says that 7 is okay. But let me turn to you, 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗏. Of course, within the context of electoral malpractices and electorally related fraud and corruption, how would you assess the OSP in these matters?
Yeah, I will say that I think we, as a nation, we should be beginning to prosecute some of these cases, these corruption-related cases that happen during elections.
Right.
You see, if the gentleman had given the money, the prof had given the money to his own agent at the center, because maybe he felt they were hungry, I wouldn't have had any cause to complain. You have employed people to work for you as agents. You go around and you think that they haven't eaten and you want to give them money to buy food. That is your party agent. But you see, he didn't do that. He went to give it to the officials who are to handle the election. That is where the problem is. And let me tell you, this is not the
Kofi, let me just play the devil advocate at this point. He's a member of parliament. Clearly, he's interested in the welfare of, everybody in his enclave and elsewhere. What is wrong if he decides to incentivize genuinely a state official without any known demands or conditions? What exactly is wrong?
Yes, I'm saying that I don't know from whatever motivated him to do it. But see, the timing is wrong. The timing is wrong. You don't give an envelope to a registration center or a polling center and specifically give it to the official of the. The perception is that maybe you may have good intentions, but the perception is that you want to influence them. And that is exactly what people are interpreting it to be. The prof may have had very good intentions, but the question is, was he to do it at that time? Why didn't he give them the money before maybe they even went to the center? You see, when whichever case you look at it, it is something that is happening every day in our elections. And I think maybe we need to educate people. We need to stamp it out. It is not good. And look at the way it happened. In the very glare of the public, everybody saw it on telly, an envelope being exchanged and given to somebody. It's not. It sent the wrong signal to the electoral process. So
kindly come in.
Yes, the
in with.
May have had good intentions,
right?
But he did it at the wrong time.
Come in with your assessment of the OSP in addressing some of these matters, because I do recall exactly that during the NDC's parliamentary primaries, for example, there was a young lady who was seen floating and flaunting cash in the air. That matter, the closure thereof is not, something that we are abreast with, okay? And all of those feed into the conversation about the ineffectiveness of the commission. So I want I beg your pardon, the OSP's, outfit. So I want your comments on that as well.
Yes, these things, we should start prosecuting some of these crimes. You see, that thing, the lady who was throwing the money, we call that treating. It's an offense. It's an electoral offense. Giving money to people, giving food, giving all kinds of things like incentives to people at the time of the election is called treating in elections, and it's an offense. It's an electoral offense which ought to be punished. You see, so the woman who glaringly was distributing money, up to now, I don't know whether anything has even been done about it. And it's not good for our democracy, and we should make sure we stamp it out. It is not good. Where people glaringly give out money, it's like we are selling our democracy. And that is the message being sent to the general public, that you can buy people to come and lead you. So when they come, when you buy them and they come, what are they going to do? The money that they use in distributing, in sharing, they want to recoup. Okay? So that is where I have a problem. So we should find a way of stamping it out. And how do we do it? We should maybe set examples one day by prosecuting one or two people who engage in these acts.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it is still going to happen. It is all over. Within all the parties, these things are happening. It is not only one party.
Right. Mr. Zahin, stay with us, because I want to pass this across the table before we get into the closure of the conversation. Now, tensions, of course, are mounting, and agitations are welling almost every second, and that is because of some comments that have come into the public space. For example, we've heard the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, indicating strongly that he would not, facilitate handing over of power to the NDC, or if I'm to put it this way, in the better context, he has shown, I don't want to say unwillingness, but the party in general, the New Patriotic Party, has indicated a certain posture of unwillingness in handing over power. How do you react to, all of these comments that have, come up in recent times, especially when not long ago, I think it is today actually, the NDC's chairman was threatening and warning that it would be in the interest of the NPP to hand over peacefully. How do you characterize all of these developments?
Some of these things happen in a context. It depends on the context under which he came out with those words. It's the context. I wasn't there, and I don't know how he couched those words, but the moment it comes out, when it comes out and it gives the impression that I would not want to hand over, it would seem as if he would by all means want to cling on to power. That is the perception. You see, when it comes out and the perception is that you would want to cling on to power and you wouldn't want anybody to take it, then probably he may be giving a signal that he may do something untoward to get onto power. But maybe he didn't mean that. That is why I'm saying that it's a contest that will determine the way it should be interpreted.
But regardless of the context, all that said, yes, but regardless of the context, should it even come up in the very first place, regardless of the context? Are we supposed to be hearing comments of this nature from the sitting president, in the very first place? In 1 minute, then I go around the table.
We need to be careful the way we send some of these signals out. We need to be careful, whether it's a president or a prime minister or it's a parliamentarian or whatever. We need to be careful the way we bring out some of these sentiments. Because it will create the impression. Maybe you may not even have meant it, but it will create the impression that you will hang on to power by all means, whether by hook or crook. But you see, if you ask him, I'm sure he will tell you that that is not the way he meant it. And it is good that we always be careful the way we come out with some of these outpourings, so that we don't give the impression.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kofi Aahen. Thank you very much. Stay on with us. We'll be wrapping up very soon. I want to pick your comments on, all of this, because the NDC has also retaliated. For example, we've heard the party's national youth organizer insisting that, well, they would also, as it were, come up, strongly if there are, all of these confrontations. How do you back to all of this?
You see, as president of the land, you are supposed to assume a national figure such that people who listen to you can get some form of inspiration and are not divided. In the technical sense of the word now, he is not the leader of the New Patriotic Party at the moment, in the technical sense of the word. So you are still president of the land. What it means is that you owe a duty to all persons within the country. Now, if you make a statement like, I won't hand over power to somebody I've defeated and all that, imagine the former president also making a statement like this in 2016. Because then he had defeated him in 2012 already. So then it sends a certain signal. And you see, the challenge here too is that you would hardly see the certain government criticize the Electoral Commission. So almost every time, it is like the activities of the EC supported by the government in power, and it is only the opposition who takes exceptions or concerns to it. And the reason why the NDC is loud, or the opposition is loud, is because in their mind, or for some of them, it is their time. In the sense that we've had 8 years, 8 years, 8 years, so it is our turn also. But the fact that you think it is your turn doesn't mean it is your turn, because it is the activities that you carry out, the message that you send across, how well you are able to marshal your troops on election day, because as we have gotten to see, elections are won at the polling station. So there is also the need for them to ensure that they get their work right, or their activities, action right, so that it doesn't seem as though they are feeling entitled to power just because it is 8 years. But again, the backstop with the president, because he is the leader of government business. He is the one that Ghanaians look up to, regardless of political affiliation or color. Therefore, his statement should be nationalistic, unifying in nature, and not seek to create division where there isn't one.
Absolutely, that point is articulately expressed. 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘, let's wrap up. I want first of all your comment on the recent remarks that have come from both sides of the divide, that appear to be setting a certain rather unfortunate tone. I want your comments on that, and then of course a solution that you think we can employ to address first of all the issues with the registration. Well, I understand we've lost connection with Adam, so I'm coming to you finally, Mr. Kofi, Albert Kofi Aahen. I mean, the process just began on Monday. We'll travel all the way to the 27th of May. What can we do practically to address the issues and make sure that it's a more perfect exercise?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the EC itself has come out to say that if by the end of the exercise, by 27, he sees that a lot of people have not been covered, they are going to extend it. That is a good sign. I've also realized that from time to time, they are coming out with statements explaining issues. Like the fact that, for example, in some places, the internet is not working, so they are using what they're doing offline. At the end of the day, when they go, they are going to download. You see, you need to let the people know what is happening. And I like it that way. Whenever there's a problem, they come out to explain. And I think they should continue with it. All I want is for the populace, the people, the parties, to bear with them, and then not.
Well, it's unfortunate, but we lost 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘. We understand he has another equal important commitment, and we've now lost Mr. Kofi Aahen, Albert Kofi Aahen, who's the national coordinator of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. But just before he went off the line, was making the point that he's happy about the fact that the Electoral Commission has announced the possibility of an extension due to the issues. But then we are wrapping up with you. What is your body of solutions that you are putting on the table to address all of the issues that we have touched on this afternoon?
I think for the Electoral Commission, okay, just like being a referee or an arbitrator, you should be seen and rarely heard. Rarely in the sense that as and when need be, then you bring about statements either to correct opinions or provide a roadmap. Now, with the activities, and I listened to the EC statement about when they start, end, and all that. If you knew that there were going to be some of these challenges, why didn't you begin the process earlier? Let's say in February, so that by the time that all these challenges come up and you are doing your mopping up, there's still ample time. But to the extent that you were so confident about being able to register 600 plus number of people within these days without giving notice to the fact that there may be some challenges with me, because for example, they may have all their activities lined up for the year.
Right.
So it presupposes that 7th to 27th was most favorable in terms of the registration. What if you are not able to meet the number that you want? Does it then mean that the extension would now eat into another activity,
right?
Which is
they are projecting 623,000, by the way.
Which at the start of the day, if about 3 or 4 days is already lost, how then do you make up for the numbers,
especially when there are other activities
that you need? Plus the fact that it is being done at your district offices, and if you say you want to go offline at your district office, where then will the online reconciliation be done? Because the offline system is such that if you are doing it at the polling stations offline, then you come and reconcile the figures at the district office, because then you are sure of better service, better internet connectivity and all that. But if at the place that we think it would be better and there are challenges, then would you take it to the regional or national level, and then what happens to...
So in a nutshell, in 5 seconds, what should they do as of now?
They should be more proactive. They should be more proactive. They should exude more confidence in the system, so that people are rest assured that the December 7th election is not going to be as a result of people still having criticisms or being disgruntled. But let us see a transparent process all through, so that by December 7th, we know it is just a graduation ceremony of an already perfect or good system that we have seen over the period.
Hopefully, we hope that is what we would all see, a perfect graduation ceremony of a transparent, system that has been put in place right from the very outset till the day a winner is declared. But this is our caution to the generality of the Ghanaian populace as well, that no system or process is perfect. Definitely, there would be isolated hitches here and there, but don't be discouraged. Go out there, register in your numbers, and then let's, as it were, solidify the democracy we have here in Ghana. Here is where time would allow. I'm tempted to say that, no, let me just say it quickly. Of course, Sunday is Mother's Day, and then, of course, from here, happy Mother's Day to all mothers, my mother in particular, Juliana Aduko-Ankra, and all other mothers. They are important. They give birth to all of us who even think that we can register and vote in the very first place. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf. Do have a pleasant weekend. Bye-bye.